Hi, my name is Raquel. I'm rgoriginals on Ravelry and on Facebook. Don't have an Instagram account. Don't have an iPhone. So for now, that's the two places that you can find me. I'm Portuguese. I live in Portugal at the moment. But English, even though it's my third language, comes more naturally to me than either Portuguese or Dutch, which are the two other languages I speak fluently. So, this is going to be a knitting, crafting podcast, and it's going to be in English because it's what I feel more comfortable in. So, let me start by showing some finished objects, and I'll be right back. Okay, so finished objects. You might be able to see this cardigan behind me. It's a test knit I did earlier this year for Hannah from Hannah's Little Corner on Ravelry. And the only thing that it needs still is buttons, and I have them here somewhere. I can't decide which ones. I really wanted some wooden buttons, but I don't have the right quantity or the right size in my stash. So what I did have in my stash were these buttons. They're mother of pearl, as you can see. But I thought this side would be more appropriate as it matches the yarn better. Then I went through my mom's stash, button stash, and found these, which also really go quite well, but like I said, not 100% sold on it. So for now, this cardigan does not have any buttons, but someone recently told me about this button store that I did not know about in Porto, which is where I live. So I'm gonna try find the store and see what they have. They apparently have more vintage buttons than the more modern ones. And I might be able to find some nice wooden buttons that I wanted. I have some toggles, but they don't really go with this jacket either. So I want some nice wooden round buttons. We'll see. We'll see what I can find. Okay, other finished objects. Pair of socks. Pair of socks. Just here all over the place. Okay. You might wonder what the yellow yarn is for. It's my way of tracking how many rows I've done. So this here shows the pattern repeat. These are Hermione's Everyday Socks. Free pattern on Ravelry by Erica Luder. And this is the way I track how many pattern repeats I've done, so I can repeat it on the second sock. Then I decided to just do plain knitting on the foot of these socks, so I do it every 10 rows. Again, don't have to constantly go back, count how many rows I've done. Okay, so yarn I've used in these socks: Regia, 4-ply, and the color upside down, sorry, is that the date that I bought the yarn. Those are two finished knitting objects. I have another object finished. Sewing. Yesterday morning I did a workshop at Riera Alta, which is a fabric store in Porto, where I've recently gone to buy some fabrics to make some project bags. I'll show you one of them in a little bit. So there was a workshop for dolls, Easter related, seeing as we're close to Easter, and I decided to go do the workshop, and this is the result. Cute little, see, girl, bunny hat and ears. Okay, workshop is supposed to last 4 hours, from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. I only left at 3 p.m. because there were 10 of us, 10 students, 10 people learning how to make this doll. Actually 9, and then one other one was doing a wreath that this is designed by Ruth, and she's from the Lisbon area. She has a book sorry, I have to get used to this camera thing. So yeah, what was I gonna say? Right, 10 students, 1 workshop, 4 hours, 1 teacher. Not gonna work, especially not in something as time consuming as making a doll. I've made a doll before, but there was no machine knitting involved, as the teacher brought all the pieces basically sewn together already. All we had to do was stuff the toy and sew it all together by hand. This has hand sewing as well. The legs were hand sewn to the body. I'm not very happy with this. If I'd had more time, I could have done it either. But like I said, time constraint. At the end, we were all rushing to finish our dolls because, you know, she had another workshop in the afternoon. But, you know, overall, pretty happy with it. She's just going to go into my cabinet. Not this one or that one. It's my craft room, which I might show one day. Along with other toys I've made. And other things I don't want out in the open catching desk and all that. So yeah, I'll open the subject, and I'll be back shortly with my works in progress. Okay, so I'm back with works in progress. What I forgot to mention before when I showed you the socks I finished, they're part of 2 different cows. The first one, the reason I started them, the first cow is being hosted by Donna Maria on Ravelry, and she decided that she wanted to knit socks throughout the month of March. You know, the idea is just to knit as many pairs as you want. Yes, there's prizes at the end, but you know, I don't usually enter cows because of the prizes. I just enjoy the experience of knitting along with a whole bunch of other people, either knitting the same item or the same exact pattern. In this case, we're all knitting socks, not necessarily all knitting the same socks. Each one can choose their own pattern. I chose Hermione's Everyday Socks as my first one. I'm now knitting my second pair of socks. Just started. Actually, I started last night, but I didn't really read the pattern before I started. I just automatically assumed it would be the same number of cast on as the Hermione's Everyday Socks, as several of the other Erica Luder Harry Potter related socks all have 64 stitches. This one I'm doing is the Snape socks. There's 72 stitches. So I already had, basically I had the whole cuff already. When I finally looked at the pattern, and I saw that it needed 72 stitches. And I even thought about not ripping it out and maybe doing one of the other patterns I plan on making. But then I was like, well, no, I look at this yarn and I see Snape. So I ripped it all out. And I'm about halfway. So I cast on this morning. Yeah, this is how far I am on my second pair of socks. The yarn is from Tiger. It's a Danish store here in Portugal. It sells a whole bunch of stuff, and during the winter months they have yarn for sale. So I chose this one. It's like gray, black, white, and just different shades. So yeah, when I look at this yarn, I see Snape, you know, Slytherin, that kind of thing. So yeah, I mentioned that I'm in the Cal hosted by Donna Maria. The other Cal that I've entered, the first pair of socks, and I will be entering these as well, is being hosted by Katie. She's in the UK. I believe she said it's Hertfordshire. And she decided to do a Harry Potter themed knit-along, which is throughout the month of March and April. So I have some more time to knit. I mean, the Donna Maria Cal is only for the month of March. So, you know, I'll see how many pairs of socks I can knit throughout the month of March. But I can carry on knitting them along with some other projects from April onwards to the end of April for Katie's podcast, Katie's knit along, and her podcast is Inside number 23. She's only got a couple of episodes out. I believe she's got 8 of them out at the moment, and some other videos. She has a whole bunch of other videos I have not seen yet. I haven't watched the latest episode either, but yeah, so I recently started following her, and I like watching it. It's a cute podcast. She has a dog, a little pug. I have 2 dogs. They're both sleeping on the, I think, at my feet. I have some pillows for them on the floor where they can hang out, and we're in like I have a dining living area. It's an apartment. It's a small thing. So I'm in my dining room area. My computer is at the moment on top of a box, on top of my dining room table, and I'm over here where the light's coming from is the window. This is the best place in terms of lighting. This is always the place I come to when I take photos of my stash to put in Ravelry. Not necessarily of my projects, because usually I take that wherever I am at the time. But yeah, if I'm at home, this is usually the place I come to, as it's the best place in terms of lighting. And it's kind of a weird day today. It's rained already. It's been overcast. I'm looking outside to see. There's blue skies and clouds at the moment. And when the sun shines in the afternoon, it shines directly here into this area. So I have 2 pillows, 2 large pillows for them on the floor by the French windows, so that they can enjoy the sunshine during the afternoon. So yeah, so that's where they're lying. All this because I said Katie had a dog. Okay. And I'm working on whips, or that's what I'm planning on showing. So yeah, so I have these socks on the needle at the moment. The other one I'm about to show you is a baby blanket I'm knitting for a friend of mine, and let me just put these socks down. Now, this baby blanket, I started it last weekend. Actually, did quite a lot of it. Worked quite a lot on it. But because, you know, from the 1st of March I've been knitting socks, I put this aside and I'll pick it up again in April. Let me show you the bag. This bag I made. It's in wool fabric. Usually this kind of fabric is used to make men's suits, but there's another yarn store. It's kind of like sells by, you know, they have a whole bunch of pieces already cut up and they price that, and yeah, they sell it like that. So this piece of fabric, that's how I bought it. It was already cut up, and you know, so it was like one of a kind. It's like leftovers almost. The rosette here is in crochet. Let's see if I can get it closer. Can you see? Yeah. It's really, really, really thin crochet cotton, and this was made by a friend of mine from my knitting group, and she used to do a lot of crochet. And occasionally, when she has like a clear out of a section of her house or whatever, she brings the stuff she doesn't want anymore to the knitting group. And this was one of the pieces that she brought. The button is from another friend of mine. She gifted this to me after she came back from a retreat in the UK. I think it was like a dyeing retreat. She dyes yarn. She's an indie dyer. So, blanket. I'll bring it up. It's a nice big bag. And the blanket is chevrons in stripes. I'm knitting this on 5mm, which is a US 8. And the yarn I'm using is this. It's the baby yarn by Milton's, or BMG Affinitage. And I've had this yarn in my stash for years. And originally it was bought for another baby blanket I was gonna knit. So this yellow, which is the main color, I have six skeins of this, and I'm alternating them with the colored ones. So I have another 3 colors to add. So yeah, this will be picked up again in April. The other work in progress is this sock yarn blanket that I started last year, and I managed to complete the majority of it last year. The only thing that's missing now is a border, and truthfully, if I'd worked on it more, I would have finished the whole thing. But there were months that I didn't even pick it up, and then other times that's all I knit on. So I'll show you as much as I can because it's huge. It's like a queen size bed type blanket, so I won't be able to show you all of it. But if you want to see photos, more detailed photos of, and find out what yarns I've used, go onto my Ravelry page. It's all on there. I've divided it into sections so it was easier for me as well to track the yarns I used. So here goes. This dark blue is the border color, and this is Drops Fable, and the color is 107. It's like a navy. This here is more of the tiger yarn, sock yarn. So here goes. This is just one, and there's a lot of yarn. So let me show some. Okay, this here. This is hand-dyed yarn by Paula, and her brand name, for lack of a better word, is dyed by Alfinit. You can find her on Facebook. I'll get all the links and I'll put them all in at the very end or in the show notes on my blog. It's easier that way. This is also by Paula. Actually, Paula, Rosario, and Filomena, the three, decided to get together and create the Portuguese Yarn Club. And there's been 3 editions so far. You know, life gets in the way, so they've been busy with other things at the moment. But yeah, I have yarn from all 3 editions. I'll show one skein that I have over here a bit later on. But yeah, this whole row, let's see if I can show it. This whole row from the yellow, the green, the blue, the purple, this red, and this pink was all mini skeins. It was 6 mini skeins, roughly 50 grams. Some were slightly heavier, some were less, but roughly 60 grams. 50 grams, sorry. Was one of the Yarn Club editions. And now, normally I don't do this. Most of this is all really leftover yarn. But in this case, I schemed them all. I wound the skeins all up into little cake yarns, cake balls, or whatever. And I knit these squares before I knit the actual project. I was going to knit the squares with that yarn. So yeah, let's see if I can find some of the other ones. This one here is by Filomena, and her brand name is Yarn Adventures. And I have more of her yarn because, you know, she's more accessible to me. Paula is in the Lisbon area, and as is Rosario, and Filomena is up here in the north with me, and she comes to the knitting group. We both belong to the same knitting group, so I see her more often, and she tends to bring her bag of goodies, so yarn, with her. Okay, here's another one. This whole row basically is also this one, and that one. All Yarn Adventures. And I do have some Donna Maria on here. Let me see if I can find it. It's on the other side. Let me see. Where is it? Here it is. This was also from the Yarn Club. This was a swap with a friend of mine. But this is hand spun as well as hand dyed. It's hand spun and it's gorgeous. What I'm going to show you later is some of the Rosario's hand spun yarn, also dyed by her. Okay, so that's my works in progress. Oh no, there's one more. And then another little bag I made. Okay, see this fabric here? This fabric is from that fabric store. This is a test knit that I'm still working on. I need to rip some of it out because I forgot to do increases. This is a shawl. Okay, it's a modular knit. It's called Custom Triangle by Lethal Meredith, or Lethal by Lee Meredith, or Lethal on Ravelry. And the custom is part of a whole collection she has of the triangle shawls, and this lace section is tulle, TWOU, and I'm going to do the second section in garter. I'm using 5mm again to get gauge. This is all Malabrigo sock yarn leftovers from other projects. Seeing as she didn't have a set deadline, I kind of put this aside to knit socks, but this will definitely be worked on come April, or if I get sore hands from knitting on small needles, because I'm using 225 millimeters, so they're pretty small and my tension's pretty tight, so I might get some sore hands if I knit too long with those needles, so I might knit on this, and I'll be back in a sec. Okay, so I'll show you some stash. It's not new because it's been in my stash for some time, but it's what I'm going to be using for the socks I'll be knitting during this month. Yeah, it's all sock yarn. Regia, the Vermont color, and that's the color. These will probably become Dumbledore's Christmas stockings. I really like the effect, actually. I've got several squares of it in my blanket. Here it is. So yeah, I'm using that one. Then there's this one. Perfect. Color. And these will probably become Moody's. Dumbledore and Moody are both Erica Luder Harry Potter themed patterns. And then we have this one. No tags on here because I wasn't originally going to use these for socks. I used it in my sock blanket. I've made some minis from this, but there's still about, I believe there's still about 60 grams left on here, which is enough for me to make a pair of socks. And what I'm probably going to do is use some white, which I have some leftovers in my leftover sock yarn box, to do maybe the cuffs, the heels, and the toes, so I can use this as much as possible. I don't know which pattern I'm going to use this for yet, but yeah, that's also the idea to make. Now, I can't guarantee I can make all these pairs of socks, right? I mean, I'm just going to make them for fun, and we'll see how far I get by the end of March, how many pairs I've got. I mean, today's only the 6th of March, and I've got 1 pair of socks completed. But it was a fairly quick knit. I'd already knit the Hermione's Everyday Socks, so I knew what I was doing. This is going to be the first time I'm knitting Snape socks, so I'll have to see what the pattern is, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be a fairly easy to memorize pattern, so I should be able to do them fairly quickly, as long as I don't make any more mistakes. We'll see how far I get by the end of today. So that's those 3 pairs. Okay, and the last one is this one. Another tiger. This one, there's again a Harry Potter themed pattern by Erica Luder. That's the lace. It's got more lace, and it's not textured, it's a lace pattern. And lace and variegated or self-striping don't necessarily go too well together, so I'm going to use this blue. for that pattern. Like I said, I don't know how many pairs of socks I'm going to be able to knit, but seeing as Katie's knit along will go through to the end of April and it's Harry Potter themed, I can still knit socks in April. I mean, I can knit socks whenever. I wanted to join Rosari's Cal, so that's why I'm knitting socks now in March. And I'm really focusing only on socks. I mean, Rosari got the idea from Mina from the Knitting Expat podcast, who knits. She was challenged. I can't remember the name of the person who challenged her to knit socks. So Mina and this other person who challenged her, they both knit 35 pairs of socks in January. Basically more than one pair a day. Now, they knit two at a, or at least Mina, I know Mina knits socks 2 at a time. I've tried, and it doesn't work too well with my method of knitting, which is the Portuguese style of knitting. Because, you see the yarn move, I use a pin. Okay, at the moment it's attached to my hoodie. In the summer I tend to attach it to my bra strap. You know, I don't want to wear a big hoodie when it's really warm out, so I attach it to my bra strap, and hey, you know, it works. Because why? If you attach this to your t-shirt, you know, t-shirts, the jersey material, it'll rip. This is quite thick cotton, winter hoodie material, so it's, yeah, it leaves a mark, but it'll wash out. It won't, like, and I put it right, can you see, it's like right on the seam kind of thing. Anyway, originally you would put the yarn around your neck, but that annoys me. So when I found out that they had these knitting pins, I bought some, and that's what I use. And then, let's see if I can get closer. I tension my yarn this way. So this, my right hand holds the yarn, and that's what tensions the yarn. Right? I got it around. Put it around my middle finger, and then I bring it up again underneath my ring finger and up over my pinky. This is the way I tension my yarn. A lot of people wrap the yarn twice around their middle finger and that's it. I find that the yarn doesn't move as freely, and it causes me to stop too often to retension and reposition my fingers. So I do it this way, and that for me works fine. Now, knitting 2 at a time, you need either 2 balls or 2 cakes of yarn, and I'm using 1 pin. It would mean I would need to have another pin to add my second yarn, and I need to tension with my left hand. And I've not found a really good position of tensioning my yarn with my left hand. Because if I wind the yarn around my left hand the way I do it on my right hand, it doesn't work. It's way too loose. I put it around a different finger and then it gets too tight. So 2 at a time doesn't work for me. Not the way I currently knit. And if I knit English style, which I can do and which I use that technique for a long time, I find that my gauge is way too loose and I don't like it. It's not even, it's not nice. Since I started using the Portuguese style of knitting, sorry, there's a knot to my yarn. I find that my tension is even. I use less yarn than what patterns call for, and it's all because of the tensioning, really. So if you want to see how to knit this way, go onto YouTube and type Portuguese style knitting, and there's a lot of videos that you can find on how to do it. Yeah, it's the way I knit. Like I said, this is the way I learned to knit when I was a young child. My mom taught me how to knit. And another thing, Portuguese knitters, or traditional Portuguese knitters, they don't have the pointed needles. Their needles are almost like really long crochet hooks, because they have that hook that crochet needles have at the front. And that really annoys me. I can't knit with them anymore. I mean, yeah, I learned how to knit on them. And, you know, at the time, I didn't know any better, so yeah, I knit with them, not a problem. Then, when I lived in South Africa, the school I went to, we had like craft classes. It was an all-girls school, so, you know, focused mainly on, I suppose, girly, but, you know, knitting and stuff it's not only for girls or women, and, you know, men do it, and good for them. Anyway, we had those craft classes, so we had to sew things by hand, knit things and everything, and it was such that even though I could knit this way, in Portuguese style, I had to learn English knitting on these pointed needles. And really, I prefer it this way. So yeah, so that's how I knit. I knit I knit English style for years until I came back to Portugal. And then I got back into the Portuguese knitting, and I prefer it. I really do. So yeah, anyway, I was showing off yarn. So, let me just finish the row. 3 more stitches. And I dropped one. Okay. And I'm done. See, another thing. I stopped the row. I can just drop this. It'll just hang here. It won't go anywhere. It's just hanging on my pin. Okay, so I mentioned I was going to show some Donna Maria hand-spun, hand-dyed yarn. Okay, Donna Maria. There's a card. You can see her web address. And this was from the 3rd edition, which was March last year. So it's like a year old, the yarn. And it's really gorgeous. Tones of brown and yellow. I love it. I have 2 skeins of these. This is Blueface Leicester. Okay, she painted this, she hand dyed this, and she hand spun this. And this skein has roughly 117 grams and roughly at 330 meters. And I don't know how much the second skein has, but I know there's a roughly 5 to 600 meters. So I can either make a really large shawl out of this, or maybe if I combine it with some contrasting yarn, I could even make a sweater out of it. But I don't know. I haven't decided yet. We'll see. So yeah, this is the Donna Maria. Something else that I got yesterday after I did the workshop, the toy workshop. Ruth had brought along some kits that she has. I don't know if you can get them online. I forgot to ask her. Don't even know if she has a website or anything. I can't see anything here on thing, but I'll see if I can find anything, and if there is a website, I'll link to it in the show notes. So, okay, I mentioned I had 2 dogs. I can resist. Now, there's going to be some crinkling because I haven't taken it out of the packaging. I don't want to remove anything. I don't want to lose any of the pieces because it's got quite a lot of fabric in there and little pieces. So, sorry for the crinkling. I'll try not to move it too much. Okay, so I couldn't resist this little puppy. I hope you can see it okay. There you go. Right. And it comes with everything. So, there's the fabric. And she's made the little rosette that goes on top of the dog's head. Right there. Wait. There we go. And, I don't know if you can see? Not only does she provide the molds, so we can remake this, but she already has the molds drawn onto the fabric. So basically, and this is the way it worked yesterday as well. We got our little kits. Now, I usually take photos when I do workshops like this to, because I don't have an iPhone, and like I said, my phone doesn't really work well with videos. I mean, this is really poor quality. So I usually take photos, and I did take my camera with me, but I don't know how to explain it. I wasn't really feeling it, you know, within the crowd I was at. I wasn't comfortable enough to take my camera out and ask if I could take photos. Probably wouldn't have been a problem. So yeah, I didn't take it out. I didn't take photos of the whole process, but otherwise, you know, the kit was pretty much this. You know, it all comes like all hand drawn on there already. So all you have to do is basically take it out and sew along the lines. Now, hand sewing, not a problem. Easy to follow the lines. Machine sewing. Cameras. Okay, let's put this again. Machine sewing. Takes a little getting used to. Straight sewing, not a problem. Rounded sewing, yeah, that didn't work too well. Good thing the hair on the doll disguises the mistake I made. Like I said, it's the first time trying. Not a problem. So yeah, that's what I have to show at the moment, I think. Yeah. I don't know what else to say. I mean, this is, to tell you the truth, this is the third time I'm filming. The first two times, the first time I filmed, okay, I did it continuous from beginning to end, and I talked for an hour. I don't even know how I did that. But after 5 minutes, the sound disappeared. And it didn't come back. And I only saw this afterwards when I went to watch it again to add like links and everything, but now I'm just adding links at the end, or maybe I'll insert pictures here and there. So this is why I'm constantly pausing the video now to go back and see if I have sound or not. And if this works out, and I continue this is how I'm going to be doing it until I get some better equipment. For now, I'm using the camera that's attached to my laptop, which is where I'm filming right now. Yeah, so that's how it's going to work. I did have a little Canon, where is it? It's over here. This little thing. But I've not used it since I got my big camera. And I charged the battery last night. I put it in. And I thought of taking it out with me to film my two crazy dogs running around in the parking lot. Battery's already dead, so this won't work. Just a shame, because I think the camera's still pretty good condition. The reason I bought my big camera, the DSLR camera, was because this one started showing a pink stripe on the photos, so it was basically ruining the photos. But I think the film, because I did manage to film a little bit yesterday, and that seemed okay. But yeah, we'll see how much, maybe a battery won't cost too much, we'll see. Because I'd like to insert some video clips of where I live, the yarn shops I visit, and my two crazy dogs, which decided that this third time they did not want to come on film. So yeah, I'll be back for one more thing in a second. Okay, so final part of this podcast. The reason for podcasting. I've been watching podcasts for quite some time now. Rosario is actually the one who got me onto it. And I've got quite a list of podcasts in my YouTube feed to watch. Usually tend to watch them on the weekend, so whatever's come out during the week, I watch over the weekend while I'm knitting, because I find that TV here in Portugal, I don't watch. It's really rare for me to actually watch the Portuguese channels, the local channels. I watch more like Fox, Hollywood Channel, Fox Movies. But sometimes over the weekends, the movies that they show, they dub them for the kids, and I don't like that. I prefer watching them in the original language with the subtitles. When I was living in Holland, the only actual cartoon movie, feature-length movie, that I remember watching in Dutch was Alice in Wonderland by Walt Disney. The other one is an actual Dutch cartoon, which I actually have to try to find and watch again, because I loved that film when I was a kid. If I remember correctly, the name is Als je begrijpt wat ik bedoel, which means if you understand. It's like if you get what I mean, basically. Not literally, but basically. That's what it means. And it's about like a dragon egg hatching, and I don't know. I can't really remember it. I just have to try to find it if I can. But yeah, all other cartoons, well, maybe not the cartoon, but then again, I did watch more Sky Channel. That's an English channel. So I watched all those cartoons in English. All the other, like the Disney movies, which they don't show here in Portugal, it's a real shame. I mean, all those classic Disney movies, Mary Poppins, Bedknobs and Broomsticks, all those old ones with Kurt Russell, like the computer wore tennis shoes, and I can't even remember the names. All I know is that the Herbie films, they don't show those here. And when they do show kid movies, they dub them. And I will always watch them in English with Dutch subtitles. And that's the way I prefer it. Whenever there's like new Disney movies or Pixar movies that come out in the cinema, and I get invited along to go watch them with kids at kids' parties, some of my friends, I know that I'm going to be watching them in Portuguese, and yeah, I go along, because it helps out my friend when she takes her daughter and all her little friends, it's like easier to have two adults watching over several kids than just one adult with all those kids. So I go, but I don't enjoy it as much as when I watch it in English. So yeah, so movies over the weekend, especially Saturday, weekend, kids are at home, they watch, especially Sunday mornings. The Hollywood channels now started showing more kid movies, and there's a lot of they've been showing a lot of the Pixar movies, so Toy Story, Up, Ratatouille, all those kind of cartoons. They put all the Portuguese versions on. So I don't watch them. What I do is I have them playing on the TV, but I take the sound off, so I can occasionally look up, see at what part they're at. But in the meantime, I'm watching podcasts. So I have been watching podcasts for quite some time. And I had been thinking about making my own podcast. But I never really did anything about it. In the meantime, there are now three, I believe it's three, Portuguese speaking podcasters out there. There is Nana. She's in Algarve. I believe it's Portimão, but I'm not sure. Then there's Cristina. She's in Lisboa. And there is Fabi, and she's in Denmark. Those are three Portuguese from Portugal speaking podcasters. So yeah, one of the reasons that stopped me from starting my own podcast was, should I do it in Portuguese? Because I'm Portuguese and I speak it. I speak the language. I have no problems. Yeah, sure. Maybe 8 years ago when I came here, it wasn't fluent as it is now. But I've been here for 8 years. I speak it fluently now. I still have some issues with some words. But yeah. Should I speak it in Dutch? Another language I speak fluently. This was the second language I learned. And a language I spoke for a long, long time, living in Holland. But for me, English, even though it's the third language I learned, you know, other than the French, the German, the Spanish that you learn at school, English is the most natural for me. I read in English. I have Portuguese books. I have 1 or 2 Dutch books still. I read them, but I don't enjoy it as much as when I'm reading English books. And then there's the fact that knitting patterns, when it comes to knitting patterns in Portuguese, I can't follow them. I really have to pay attention to what I'm doing if I'm reading Portuguese knitting patterns. I can read knitting patterns better in French, Italian, German, even some Swedish or Danish ones, better, and understand them better than the Portuguese ones. Obviously, English ones, not a problem. Because I think that's what I learned when I was in South Africa. I learned how to read a pattern in English, and I learned the English terms. So yeah, one of the reasons I held back from creating my own podcast was, which language do I use? Now, on Thursday, so the 3rd of March, this past Thursday, I went to my local yarn store, Ovelha Negra, which is here in Porto, and she hosts a get-together on the first Thursday of every month. And we were talking about podcasts. And she's like, Raquel, you really have to do a podcast because you knit so much and you make such beautiful stuff and all that. And I'm like, yeah, well, I don't know. And she's like, yeah. And she's like, okay. And we were like, there were how many of us? There was maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, probably 10 or more people there that evening. And she's like, okay, who wants Raquel to make a podcast? Everyone, and I mean everyone, put their hands up in the air. So I was like, okay, fine. Even if nobody watches this, it's a way of documenting what I'm doing at the time. I mean, I have my blog, and I'll continue with my blog. But this is fun. I can see what I was knitting at the time, what I've been doing. I'll show off my dogs, which I do on the blog as well, and on Ravelry. But you know, it's different when you see them barking or licking or whatever. So yeah. Okay, so now to decide how often I'm going to do this podcast. I'm going to try do this on a weekly basis. And I'll continue doing it the way I've done it now, which is do a section, pause it, go back to see if it's okay. If not, I re-record it. If it's okay, go on to the next section. For now, I don't think I'll be creating a group on Ravelry just yet. I want to see how things go, if there really are people watching this other than my local friends. And they were all fine with me doing it in English, because I did say, well, if I'm really going to do this, it's most likely going to be in English. And they're like, yeah, not a problem, absolutely fine, not a problem, really. So yeah, I'm doing this in English. That's not to say I might not throw in a couple of Portuguese or Dutch phrases, or, you know, when I'm out and about, I'm going to see if I can figure something out with maybe an old friend of mine that has a good camera, that has great quality in filming. If I can get that one to work, maybe I'll use that one instead of the other camera I have here. So yeah, I always intended, if I did the podcast, to show the area, show where I like to go, where I like taking my dogs. There's a big city park close by. Well, I say close by, I mean, it's not that close. It takes me about 30 minutes to get there by foot. But when I go, I tend to go on foot. So I take my dogs, that's already 30 minutes that they're walking. Then we go through the whole park. This park comes out at the beach in Matosinhos. And they like the beach. And I've recently found out that this is the only beach close to where I'm living that even in the summer months the dogs can go out on the sand, which most beaches you can't, because they're it's not allowed. During the winter months, so until the end of May, from October to May, I can go to the beach and I can take the dogs out onto the sand, not a problem. I mean, obviously, I take little poo bags with me and I pick up whatever, you know, so I don't leave their stuff behind. Not everyone does this. But yeah, I tend to do that. I don't think it's right, you know. Like, you want to keep the beach as clean as possible for everyone. I'm not the only one who's walking the beach. Anyway, totally off topic here. So yeah, I'd like to, that was one of the things I always said I'd do if I did a podcast. Take video clips of where I take my dogs for a walk, places I go to, for instance, this yarn store I was talking about, which is Ovelha Negra in Port. There's another one I like going to, which is Bolas de Tons in Coimbra. It's like an hour's drive from where I live. So I don't go there as often, but I do go there occasionally. But when I go, I make like a day of it. So I know I'm not gonna like go hang out for like an hour and come back. I go and hang out like at least the whole morning, and then we go have lunch. And depending on if there's workshops on Saturday afternoons or not, the shop is open. If not, I believe they close on Saturday afternoons. So at that time, either we come back to port or we go hang out at some local cafe or whatever. There's, talking about yarn stores, another yarn store I've been to only once. Not ordered from them online, but you can do. You know, they have an online store. Is Clico das Cinco in Lisboa. That's owned by Ana Sofia. She's really nice, and Paula from Dyed by Elfinet works for her at the store. So I'm constantly chatting with them on Facebook and on Ravelry, and especially now with the cow and everything, we're all like, oh, just a warning, my dogs might bark. They're right by the window, and some seagulls have just flown by. And Rusty likes to bark at birds and stuff. Yeah, and then there's another one in Famalicão, which is north of where I live. It's like a 30-minute drive, maybe 40 minutes. I've not been there in quite some time, and that's Dona Agulha. I believe she also has an online store now. She didn't in the beginning. I believe she does now. But like I mentioned before, all the links, I'll just put them on the blog or put them at the end of the video. So at the moment, I don't have any videos to show you, any videos of my dogs. Maybe I can get them to come over here so I can show you my dogs. Like here comes one. Here comes, this is Dakota. That's the girl, and she will be 8 this year. Just a sec. Okay, everyone loves this dog. Dakota, over there. Over there. She was found as a stray. And I've had her from 3 months old. So there she is. Gorgeous dog. She reminds me of the Kelpies, the Australian Kelpies, which are like working dogs in Australia. Pictures I've seen of Kelpies, this is what they look like. They're more barrel-chested than Dakota. She's not as barrel-chested as the Kelpies, but that's what she reminds me of. I don't know. I don't care. She is a lovely, well-behaved, obedient dog. Unlike the other dog I have, which is Rusty. He's a Yorkshire Terrier. And I've had Yorkies before. I've had 3 other ones before him and his sister. My mom has his sister. I know that it's a very stubborn breed, and he's the second male dog. I've since I was born, only had female dogs. Rusty's the only second male dog I've owned. The first one, also Yorkie, unfortunately didn't live very long. He died at 15 months. Had like a brain aneurysm. I don't know. He died. He had an epileptic fit, and he died instantly. There's nothing to be done. That's why I got this one. Several months after this happened. In the meantime, I really wanted another Yorkie because despite them being stubborn, they're gorgeous dogs. I love them. I really do. And I was out walking Madam over here one day, and I came across a lady who was walking a Yorkie, a male Yorkie, his father, Marley, and we got to talking to the lady. It wasn't the first time I'd seen her. We got to talking, you know, Marley was playing with Dakota, Dakota was playing with Marley, and I mentioned that, you know, I'd recently lost a dog, a Yorkie, and that I'd really like to have another one. And she's like, well, oh, you know, Marley here just became dad of 6 pups. So the dog wasn't hers, it was her daughter's. She put me in contact with her daughter. I talked to the daughter, and like 2 days later, I went literally across the street, not in the apartment buildings, but down the street. Well, okay, maybe not across the street, down the street. There's houses, and in one of the houses is where Rusty's mother lives. Still lives there with another sister of his. He was like, yeah, so one of 6. So I have 2 of the 6, and I know 2 other sisters of his. I don't know the other 2 dogs. They were, when I went to see them, one had already been adopted out, so I never got to meet that one. And at the time they only had 2 males and I think it was the 3 females. I'm not sure anymore. But one of the females were basically all, no, 2 of the females were spoken for, were already reserved, and the males were still available. And I picked out 2. Rusty. And I picked out Zada, which is his sister, which is lives with my mom. And my mom has another dog, which is a Parsons Jack Russell. So the long-haired Jack Russell. And she's a rescue dog as well. Yeah. The first dog I owned, or my family owned, was a rescue dog as well. She was slightly bigger than Dakota, but then again, you know, I can't really say because I was a small child at the time, so for me the dog looked huge. But my parents say that she was more or less Dakota's size, not much bigger. Also all black and whatever. Really nice dog. Pardon me. Trying to see if Rusty, Mikey, Rusty, come here. No, he's curled up on the pillow. He doesn't want to move, or maybe he does. Here he comes. I'm gonna pick him up. Here he is. Wait, turn around, Rusty. People want to see you. Here he is. He's currently at, let's see, I have only the first, so from the moment I got him at, I believe he was about, let's see, May, June, he was about 12 weeks old maybe when I got him, 10 to 12 weeks old when I got him, when I got both of them. Tiny, they fit in my hand. Okay, completely black, and I was hoping he'd turn out more like his father than his mother. He turned out like his mother, so he's nice and light. And I named him Rusty because I was hoping he'd be like his dad, so he'd be more brown in the face area, but that's okay. He's still got like little rust colored hair and all that, so fine. But they say you shouldn't really cut your dog's hair in the first year so that it can grow out properly and go through all those stages. So it was only when he turned a year old that I shaved off his hair. It gets hot here in summer, and he doesn't tolerate it. I know from, I've had the breed before, and I know that the other dog I had did not tolerate the heat very well. And I mean, these dogs have long hair. It's almost identical to human hair. It really, it's like, Yeah, this is one of the breeds that they suggest if you're allergic to dogs because it's hair, not so much fur. Regardless, I'm not allergic to dogs. I'm allergic to cats, not dogs. So yeah, he was a year old, slightly, like, just over a year old, and I shaved off his hair. Not completely, just, or was it? I shaved it off. I had the vet. I went to the vet and I asked her to shave. And he appreciates it. He prefers the short hair in the summer, like really shaved. Now, I had the vet shave him maybe twice that year, that first year. And I decided then and there that I was gonna buy the machine, the shaving machine myself, because he needs to be shaved around 3 times during the summer. His hair grows a lot and really fast, and he refuses to go outside if it's too hot, if he has long hair. So at the moment his hair is this length. It's not too long. I've shaved it in the meantime since even in the winter I shave it. I don't shave it as short, but you'll see him in the summer. You'll see how short his hair gets. I don't shave it as short in the winter because it does get cold, and if he goes up to my parents' place, it's a lot colder up there because they're more in the interior, in the mountain area, so it does get cold. They have little jackets and sweaters that they wear, but still, I don't tend to shave their hair as much, or his hair as much in the winter, or as short. So at the moment I'd say it's like medium length. Another reason for shaving his hair: he tolerates being brushed. The Yorkies, if you're gonna have them with long hair, they need to be brushed on a daily basis. I know this because I've had the breed before, and I brush them every day. And if you don't brush them every day, they get knots in their hair, and then it hurts them when you're trying to brush it out. So he tolerates being brushed up to a specific length of hair. After that, forget it. Which is at the point I know I have to shave his hair again. And in the summer, he doesn't need to be brushed. He can run around and be all happy and whatever. So, okay, that was completely nothing to do with knitting or this podcast. But now you know. You see my dogs. They show up in my project pages a lot. I use them as my models. Some willing, some not. Depends on the day, on their mood. Jojo, my mom's dog, is the most willing of all 4 dogs. To the point when I get over to my parents' place and I say, Joe, I have things for you to model, she'll come up happily running to me and ready to model. She actually gets annoyed when I remove said items from her. She growls. Because she figures, I put it on her, it's hers. It's not mine anymore, it's hers. But still, I'll try film that one time, if I can. So yeah, if you have questions, leave them in the comments below. I'll see if I can answer them for the next time. Suggestions, also very welcome. For now, this is going to be the location I'm going to be filming, and the day's not the greatest of days, and I'll see if I can move around a bit more to not have light on one side of my face and shadow on the other side. I had been filming differently this morning, but it's going dark and then light and dark and then light because of the clouds going by. So when I start filming the second time, it was really dark outside, so this was the best position, but we'll see how it goes. If you have any suggestions, please feel free to mention them in the comments below. And like I mentioned before, we'll see if I create a Ravelry group or not. So yeah, till next time, thank you for watching.